So my name is David Bowers. I'm the Tinplate cataloguer here at Vectis Auctions up on Teesside in the UK. Just to give you a quick introduction to our next Tinplate Sale. The previous ones have been very popular. This one is on the 17th of February 2022. There's some interesting stuff in it already. I thought you might like a little look over the Christmas and New Year period. Starting here on the right hand side, we've got a nice collection of the Triang mini Tinplate and Clockwork vehicles, which were going from the pre-war 1930s period up to the 1950s. There's a selection of cars, lorries and buses. Some of them still have the original boxes, and some of them are in extremely nice condition, so I'm sure they'll be very popular. They look nice on display of their own accord, but many people that run all gauge model railways, they're ideal to accompany a model train layout. Okay, so carrying on, we've got some quite a few vintage cars here. I'll point them out as we go along. These two smaller ones, this one was made by Tip & Co. That one was made by the popular German toy company of Bing. Behind them, this is quite unusual. It looks like one of the old Mammoth steam engines, but in actual fact it was produced by a German company called Doll in the early part of the 20th century. So, and that steamroller is a live steam model powered by a Meths burner underneath. Okay, moving on, we've got a German Tinplate fire engine there, a very nice piece, and then some British Tinplate toys from the post-war period. A tip-up lorry there, which still has its original box as it came from the shop in the 1940s. And then we've got a selection of Tinplate buses and a trolley bus there. These items here, the camouflaged military vehicles, we've got a Mercedes staff car there. We've got a tracked personnel carrier, and we've also got an anti-aircraft gun on a lorry with a searchlight. Those were made by Tip & Co. In the pre-war period in the 30s, and interestingly, although they're German items, they seem to have come with a quantity of British outlying soldiers. Okay, some more Tinplate military vehicles there. Coming up to a crescendo here, we've got some racing cars, as you can see. A very nice British-made Mettoy giant racing car from the 1940s, late 1940s. But the piece I want to show you especially is the star of the sale, and that is this vintage car here. Okay, this Tinplate Clockwork car that you see here was made by the German company of Bing. It was in the 1902 catalogue. So when we have the sale in 2022, it will be 120 years old. The reason it's survived in such good condition is it belonged to the same family from new, and it was on display in their house, and the children, believe it or not, weren't allowed to play with it. So as a result, it survived very well. And interestingly, it still has its original box, and I can just show you here on the back of the car there, you'll see GBN initials. That stands for Gebruder Bing, and the N stands for Nuremberg. The city of Nuremberg in Germany at one time is where all the toys were produced. And if you look down here as well, I don't know whether you can see that or not, on the box they've got a symbol there which also says GBN, which shows that it's the original box. So yeah, the estimate on that is 8 to 10,000. We've had interest on it already, but it should be interesting to see what it achieves on the day. Also, similar age, perhaps not quite as old. We've also got some vintage tinplate cars by Bing, Disler and Tip & Co, and a very nice limousine, again dating from around 1912, 1915. This is by a company called Correct in Germany, and they made these cars in different styles to suit people's pockets. You could either have a very basic one or you could have a very well detailed one. This one I think is more in the middle of the range. It's got real glass in the windows, the doors open at the back, it's got a clockwork motor which drives it along. Somebody's made a reproduction suitcase for it, and I think there's a bit of repainting here and there. But when you take into account it's about 110 years old, it has survived quite well. So we've got quite a few vintage cars coming up, as you can see. Back to the 1960s, we've got 4 of the tinplate Clockwork, or battery operated rather, robots. These 2 were made by Horikawa in the mid-60s, and they are based on the attacking Martian. This guy is the walking robot, and at the back we've got the battery operated planet robot. Okay, another interesting piece here from an earlier time. This might be of interest to, it hasn't got any bowls, but it's a tinplate Clockwork Novelty bar billiards, and the guy quite often flicks his cue and will pot a ball. We have some balls on there that do that. That dates from, again, another 100-year-old toy really. That's a nice piece. A lot of people are into sports memorabilia, and that could do quite well. I'd say it's worth about 150, 200 pounds. Right there. Carrying on, we've got a bit of a mixture here. Some live steam toys. Again, we've got a live steam mammoth type steam engine. All these figures with tools would be driven by a band extending from the steam engine when it's working and turning that, and you can see how the woodman cuts his piece of wood there that way, and on this one how the guy does his sewing and so on. An interesting model speedboat there from Schuko, which is a German manufacturer. Some more Triang mini toys there. A large lot of vintage games and novelties. People like to collect these old games. Some of the 1950s pressed steel Triang trucks that they did in fairly good condition. The Hornby train set, which lacks its locomotive by the way, but nevertheless it is quite the contents are quite colourful. You can see there's stations in there, level crossings, footbridge and so on. So for someone who's a collector, they could easily find the correct locomotive to make a complete set. Okay. A couple of novelty guys here, a couple of suspicious characters. We've got McGregor there, and we've got Charlie Weaver, the bartender, battery operated from the 1950s. Again, very popular. The McGregor character is in quite nice condition too. Okay. Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse projector here. This is from the days when children didn't stare at mobile phones all day and had to make their own amusements. I'll not take it out, but you can see the condition of the projector is quite in quite good condition, and it comes with reels of suitable films, Walt Disney related films of the period. Okay. and a nice presentation box as well. It's actually French manufacturer, that one. Moving on back to the old days, we've got a couple of old British-made Mettoy Clockwork aircraft. These were always quite good. If you wind them up, they nearly always work, and you'll see that it will taxi forward and parallel turn as well. And of course, the beauty about these toys, much to the relief of the parents on Christmas Day, they didn't take batteries, so whenever you wanted to play with them, there's a smaller German version. So yeah, they're worth the region of about £50 a piece. Carrying on the next bench, from the same February 17th 2022 Tinplate Sale, we've got a selection of novelties and old toys here. I'll quickly run up through them. Some lots here are just of old toys that want a bit of repair. A lot of people like to restore them, so that would suit there. We've got the old Arnold Bolt there, a Shoecore car, another Shoecore racing car, dinky toy car there. So we try to cater for everybody. So someone who's a collector who likes to make their own stuff, we use them for spare parts, that would be ideal for them. Same with this one as well. This one's got a rare Shoecore car with the mouse rattling his balloon when it travels along. Here we've got a German, British style Tinplate Clockwork London bus in the general livery, open top, passengers on top. Probably £200 or £300, so that's quite a rare one. Probably dates from the late 20s, 1930 period. These, I believe, are they're out of favour here these days. I think they're cigarette cases, but they're very nice models of vintage cars in their own right, and so they should sell quite well in a chrome plated finish. And there we have another one there. That one, but that's the same idea, cigarette cases, but we're not trying to advocate smoking here. They look nice on display. They're a nice size for people who are into model cars. Alright, another vintage car there. I haven't researched that yet, but it looks like it could be Bing or similar, but it's certainly got some age to it. Vintage open top tourer. Okay, moving along, we've got another selection of toys, tinplate toys that people may need for spare parts or restoration. Here we've got some figures. I believe these two toys might be by a person called Fernand Martin or Martin in France in the early part of the 20th century, and they're regarded as automata, and they could do very well, but again, we'll need to do a bit of research on that nearer the time. We've got some tinplate clockwork horse-drawn carriages there. Moving up here, a few more novelties. These might be of interest. These two black character cast iron banks. This one was the most common one, although this one's got a top hat on, and the idea was you'd put the money in his hand, put your coin there, press the lever, and he'd swallow it in his mouth, and it would go into the central bank here. That's lacking its door, but still it's a nice display piece. But the thing is, what's unusual about him is well, the fact that he has his top out. But this lady version, she's called Dinah, D-I-N-A-H, I think it is, and she's quite rare. And if you do the same with her, press a button, she'll put her hand to her mouth and save it up there. We've got no container there, but a nice display piece, very nicely painted and in quite nice original condition, I would say. Okay, moving on a bit further, we've got a very early vintage projector here. I don't know how complete this is, but you can see from the box that they call it a Lanterna Magica, so it's a magic lantern in other words. Very nice piece, and some of the early projectors are doing very well at the moment. This comes with a number of these glass slides, and I don't know whether you can see that or not. If I hold it up to the light, there are a number of images there which would be of interest to people and perhaps children. So very nice early toy from an age of 100 years or so. Interesting cup here. I believe we've had these before. Batman and Robin cup. Underneath it's dated 1966, so it's from round about when the series first came on television. Very nice condition, probably worth about 30 or 40 pounds that. Okay, a few animals here, birds, a dog, one that took me fancy before, as I say, polar bear. And I'll give him a bit of a wine. We don't see this very often. He just seems to be in very good condition. And there he is. He doesn't look too happy about being surrounded by these other animals, but that's been very nice looking. It's Japanese manufactured. Okay, moving on. We finish off with a large quantity of racing car models from a collector. These first of all are by Schuco, a German make, and you could buy these models in kit form and assemble them as a nut and bolt construction and make them up yourself for various cars. That one, as you can see, is a Tyrrell Ford. We have here a Lotus Formula 1, the black John Player Special one. And then moving around here, we've got similar kits for more sedate, earlier racing cars, such as the Mercedes here. Again, nut and bolt construction, these kits. Some made up larger scale models of the racing cars. Now, Schuco model cars were so popular that a few years ago the Schuco company decided to make them again. So these are actually reissues of the old Tinplate Mercedes racing cars that Schuco made, but they've been reissued, and they sell very well. They all work with Clockwork motors and so on. Again, I'm going to show you shortly a series of very large Landspeed record cars that were made in the 1930s. But here we can see recently made copies, reissues, by a company called Schilling. This is the Sir Malcolm Campbell's Bluebird racing car, and the far one is the Golden Arrow racer from, I think it was about 1929. Very interesting models, those. They sell quite well. Similar thing, some smaller scale Clockwork record cars there. And then here we have, this area here, are a collection of original 1940s and early 50s Tinplate Clockwork racing cars, all British made. They were made by Chad Valley. These were made by Wells, and that one is Mettoy. It still has its original box, that one, which is a nice touch, very colourful, from about 1948, 1950, I think. Then coming down here, you can see here we've got an array of Landspeed record cars. All these were made pre-war in the 1930s. They're all made of pressed steel, and the vehicles we have are, first of all, the first one is a British-made Tinplate model of the Bluebird. I must show you this. It does have a loose wheel at the back, but it's still in original finish, and it's a bit of age wear, but it's quite good. The motor still works on the back wheels. Right, the front wheels turn. There's old Malcolm Campbell sat in the driving seat. But a very nice touch is this one has been signed by Malcolm Campbell himself. So that should do quite well. Put about £400 to £500 as an estimate on that model. Moving on, American manufacturer Kingsbury, two pressed steel Sunbeam record cars. Again, it explains that this one was the first car to attain a speed of over 200 miles an hour. That was in the 1930s when there was a quest for speed. This one's had a bit of repainting. That one's a bit more play worn, but it is original. They're probably worth about £200 to £300 those. Again, 1930s. Two more models of the Golden Arrow record car by Kingsbury in the United States. Big clockwork motor on the back, which doesn't need a key, you just simply turn it, and if I turn it like that, you'll see it starts to run quite well. Okay, some of these haven't been used for a while, they probably want a bit of lubrication, but it is in working order. Driver figure there, a gold finish, steerable wheels at the front, and probably worth about £200 to £300. This one's similar, different shade of gold, loose panel there, but collectors don't mind that sort of thing. If the price is right, most people will quite easily repair that and get a nice displayable model. We've got Kingsbury again, up in the USA, Bluebird, this one, driver figure, radiators at the side still present, decals, original finish, but and a bit of rust, surface rust coming through, but it still displays well, and you've got to remember it's sort of 80 odd years old. Similar value on that, probably 200 to 300, and these two are the same. The last two, this is by Gunthermann, a German company. This was a Silver Bullet, Sunbeam Silver Bullet racing car, record car rather, and another version by Gunthermann of the Golden Arrow. So quite a bit of variety there. There's well over 200 items coming up. So if you want any more information, keep your eye on the website at vectis.co.uk. Probably a few weeks before the auction, the items will come online and you'll be able to view the catalogue for free. So happy bidding and thanks for watching. Bye for now.